I never heard that
So
before. All right, live to a little Facebooky. All right, stand
Will I
by.
be able to watch it on Facebook later then? Does
Yeah,
it stay up there or it goes away? Oh God.
no,
All
it
right.
should stay up. And
Oh,
I wish there was a way, and there is, if I use StreamYard, to be able to, because people are gonna want to ask their own questions.
oh.
But I get so distracted when comments pop up. I'm like, "Ugh."
Yeah. No, I hear you on that. I don't, it's such a skill, people that are able to like
How? I don't know. Oh,
stay engaged and then also get all that stuff. I don't know how
I
to do
think people can see us now.
it. Oh,
Here we are.
we're
It's
ready.
on my Facebook, but I have it to where I can't see it or hear it. So here we go. Um, Abby freaking Mueller, I'm so excited for you to join me today on the Salisha Show, which is so unofficial and it hasn't even launched yet. So it's very like, here's the thing, Abby. I started this podcast, Black Hair in the Big Leagues, which is great. We talk about textured hair, yada, yada, yada. But like, what if I want to talk to you? You white
I
girl.
don't have texture here.
I don't get to talk to you. So I'm like, we need
My
to
hair
open.
is like literally the opposite of texture. I have the most boring hair on the planet.
It's actually very beautiful. And I had a couple of your castmates on Black Hair in the Big
I
League.
saw that. That was so
Hey,
cool.
back. And I'm like, man, I wish I could have Abby on here. Oh, I gotta open this up. So let me just give you a proper for those who are listening, welcome to the Salisha Show, whatever that is. We're still figuring this out. Today, my guest is somebody who I have looked up to and adored for very, very, very many years. She she hails from Chicago. She has performed regionally everywhere. She's done everything. She's amazing. My heart gets so big when I think about her because when she performs, it comes from such a deep place. I got the opportunity to tour with her. We launched the first national tour of Beautiful the Carole King musical together, and she was our Carole King. I have chills just thinking about our reading together. And it's and I'd also like to talk about her journey a little bit while we're on together because I remember somebody saying, I think I saw Abby Mueller in the ensemble of Kinky Boots. Isn't she about to be starring in the show that you're going to be in? I'm like, yes. And so, and going from that before this pandemic and post pandemic, will be starring as Jane Seymour in the blockbuster hit Six the Musical. Please help me welcome the one, the only Abby freaking Mueller.
Hi, Salish.
Hey, girl.
Oh my gosh. Plugging my speaker back in, it just like freaked out.
No,
Can
it's
you hear me now?
yes, I can hear you,
I
girlfriend.
can hear you. Perfect. Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. Thank you for having me on the Salisha Show.
Oh my gosh. Like,
Salisha.
how are you? You look so beautiful. How are you? Where are you?
You're so sweet. Listen, I am well. I have my house. Oh, they'll get that. Come in. Listen, I have my health. I have all necessities. I feel like that question has like been loaded for like the past year and a half. It's so weird, right? It's almost like you're not, I don't know if you felt this, but almost a little afraid to say like if you're okay, like you have to kind of downplay or say I'm okay. And so I've tried to adjust that a little bit and be like, listen, I'm okay, but I'm more than okay. I have like of all the things that could have, gone wrong this year, it's like, what have I got that's going for me? So I don't know why I went into that diatribe, but I am fine.
Amen.
Yeah.
And you look like you're better than fine.
Oh, you're so sweet.
You don't look like you've been through a pandemic.
Well,
I'm
put
like,
on a lot of blush. No, it's good. I've been kind of all over. You've been traveling too, right?
yeah,
Yeah. It's
everywhere.
been interesting, right? So Yeah, it's been a super weird time, obviously, but right now I'm in the Midwest.
Are you in
Uh,
Chicago?
yeah, Chicago Bears. Um,
Fun.
yeah, are you in
New York.
California or New York? You're
I'm in
back
New
here.
York, and it
Awesome.
feels like New York again, Abby.
Great.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
So
great.
here's the thing. I would like to start with, and forgive me for starting here, but because we know that it has a good ending, this is going to start. Okay.
Oh, sure.
I just want to, and I don't want to stay here long, but I want to just take it back to like March of 2020 when we were going, when I was in
Oh,
rehearsal for the Britney Spears musical. You were about to open.
oh,
I know. You were literally okay. Broadway shut down on like what, March 12th? The entire industry was devastated. Everybody was sad. That's the first time I've ever been laid off. Everybody's like, my last night performing was last night. What the heck? But although everyone was feeling sorry for themselves, everybody was more devastated for Six the Musical because that was your opening night.
well, listen, certainly not a devastation contest, but yeah, the timing was super interesting.
Everybody was so
Yeah.
anticipating.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah, we were really excited. Yeah, it was like a couple of hours before our opening night that the Broadway shutdown happened. So, I mean, there were a bunch of shows that were either just opened or like,
Yeah.
I think we were the only one maybe scheduled to open on that night, but certainly across the country, I feel like there was a Hamilton tour, somebody was open, So
Yeah.
look, it's not personal. Everybody was affected, but yeah, it was a unique scenario for our show. And I think we sort of thought, well, at this point, they're not going to shut us down like in the middle of the day. I don't know what we thought. It's so funny looking back, right? To be
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, maybe might be a week, you guys, or oh, they're looking like 2 weeks now and stuff like that. But
Remember that.
remember
That's
that? You
palpable
can
now.
like look back through
We'll be
text you
back in
like,
2 weeks.
oh my God, you guys, it's gonna be a month. Like, oh, and then, but no, I feel you. I think that feeling of it was very surreal, but I as I said, I don't know, I feel like everyone's experience is individual, of course, but I was just like, it wasn't a huge surprise. Maybe the timing was a surprise, but as you know, right, everything was swirling at that point in New York.
Yeah.
I think for people outside of New York, it felt um a little bit different. I think just being in the epicenter of it, like, when people started, there was that usher that got ill, and
And it was like that one person we're like, oh, and Usher had COVID. I remember that.
yes,
But I really feel like way more people had it that didn't know they had it.
I think you're right. I mean, I got super sick end of February. I missed like a lot. I missed over a week of previews. Like it was terrible
Oh,
timing. I have no idea. There's no way to like find out at this point, but a lot of people were really sick. I remember that. And I'm talking to friends being like, there's something weird going around. Like it just doesn't act like like a
right.
bronchitis.
Right. In my cast too, people were sick, but we're like, oh, it's obviously not.
Well, it's February and it wasn't just, I don't know, it was so weird, Salisha, like until it was like officially deemed, it was like kind of before and after. So yeah, so that obviously didn't happen on March 12th, but it's been so interesting to think like, wow, I wonder what would have happened if it had opened and then everything was obviously going to shut down imminently, whether it was going to be Friday morning or Thursday at 3:30 p.m. I don't know if it would have been. It's interesting to think about, but
Right.
sort
Um,
of real.
yeah, I just remember all of us being like, man, life sucks, but six. And so fast forward a little bit because you guys have announced a comeback date, right?
They have, yeah, they're selling tickets.
Are you gonna be in that?
I hope so.
Okay, you said they. I'm like, oh shoot,
Well,
we're gonna
well, and that's why off the air we'll talk more about because I want to hear about your show and stuff like that. But the order of things, the order
Yes, actually, yes. I
Okay.
just found out about the Britney Spears musical on Google yesterday. I'm like checking my inbox. I'm like, refresh.
You get it. You must have, for everyone that doesn't, like, it's just been interesting the way that we've never been through this scenario before, right? It's never been like, oh, Broadway's been shut down for 18 months. So yes. So the announcements have been made, the show is coming back, and I look forward to returning with the show.
Right on. Period. And people are looking forward to it as well. And so and I feel like I'm in a similar boat to you. It's like we don't know, and everyone's like, "What's happening? What's going to happen?" All these things. I'm like, "Don't ask me all these questions. I don't actually know."
Right.
But it's somewhere deep down, okay, going to be working again. And so with that in mind, Abby, like, how do you get back into the mindset of, okay, we've been in a pandemic for over a year, and now there is a very, very high chance that you're going to not just be back on Broadway, but to be like dominating on Broadway in just a few short months. What is that mental shift? How do you get back? What do you do? Like,
That is a very good question. I don't, I'm afraid I don't have an answer for you. And if you have one, please let me know, because
I'm over
I've
here
been,
asking you,
I've
trying to
been
figure out.
wondering the same thing. Look, I think, I really think it's like important to take a beat and just acknowledge that it's like, again, we've never been, it's not like, oh, we've all gone through periods of, well, most of us, I don't know, I have gone through periods of unemployment, right? Um, but really nothing to the extent of this pandemic. And I mean, like,
Yeah.
I'm not singing a note for months and months and months and months. Like, usually when we're unemployed, right, we're still auditioning, or we're still, I don't know, just doing concerts or messing around with friends. But this particular scenario is so different, and having to isolate and literally sit at home. And I don't know about you, but like when I'm not feeling, when my spirit is not feeling very bright, like I don't sing.
I don't do I don't do nothing.
I don't do,
I don't
like
do
I don't feel like it. It's usually one of the first things I can tell, like, oh, okay, we're going in a little bit of like the dark zone. So I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you. And it's almost hard to be like, okay, well, what do I need when I'm preparing to come back from something that I've never come back from before? So I
God.
think I think there's just gonna have to be, and I'll be honest with you, there's some trepidation there. I definitely feel like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do everything I can, but like,
You feel that?
yeah, does anyone
Abby,
else?
I just feel like, okay, and
We're
this is
the
the
F
thing with
out.
me. I just feel like you're Abby. You're Abby. You're Abby. Like, you feel like you can literally, Abby. Okay, here's the thing. I know you. I know, like, I've toured with you. I know when you're sick. I know when you're sick because I've listened to you for how many days in a row. And if there's anything different, I'm like, oh, she's sick. But nobody would ever know that. Anybody sitting in the audience would never know that you're sick. And I'm always trying to get into your mind, like, how do you how you be fooling people? Like,
I don't know. I I don't.
even on your worst day, on your worst day, you're somebody's 11.
Salisha, that's ridiculous. I
I,
mean, thank you. That's very sweet, but I don't know how to respond to that though.
okay, well, let me give me a second. Let me see if I can wrap my head around what I'm there is a question in there that I actually do want to know as somebody who I'm like, okay, I am somebody who, okay, on tour for Beautiful, all the girls used to make fun of me because they're like, Salisha, you get dressed so early. You're on stage 5 scenes ahead of time. And I would just let them. I'm like, yeah, I like to be ready, yada, yada, yada. Y'all, can you look a little closer? I'm getting on deck so I can watch, so I can take notes from you.
I was upset. I That was such a big part of my show, was saying hi to you at the beginning every day. Remember that?
Yes.
Always be there, and I get to see you. I love that.
I mean, it's one of those things like I am I'm constantly learning from you. I know we're not the same type at all, but there's so much magic that you bring to the stage, whether it's you just being in the moment, you using everything that is happening. If somebody's talking off stage, you use that for the scene. I'm like, how did she do that? When you're sick, you go and you still like, if you're well enough to be on stage, nobody knows you're sick. Your tribe does, because you sound like a CD every day. So when there's one little change, it's like, but I do have a question. Here's a technical question for you, Abby. So when you are sick and you go on stage and you're singing, how do you get into the mind? What what goes through your mind to where you can relax? How do you get to relax so much to where it doesn't change the quality of your performance?
Oh my gosh, I don't relax. I mean, you know how it is feeling sick and you got oh my God, I'm just remembering now back to several choice moments when I've had to perform sick and you and the whole company. You want to talk about like somebody supporting you. That makes me a little emotional to remember. There were some very ill moments, and look, I think, thank you for saying all that. First of all, I think that you as a singer know how mind mind effing it is when you're like, oh my God, it's not there. And
yeah.
And even when someone says like, it's okay. No, you're okay. They can't tell. But like, you just know when it feels right. You know when it hurts or feels. And so, there's a lot of that like you can't really take in. And something that I try to remember too, for when that, because it's happened to everybody, right? And so you're like, is everybody lying to me, or like what's going on?
Girl, no, not you.
Well, but there's it's like singing anyway, like so much of what you hear in your own head doesn't match what actually people are hearing out there. And thank God there's mics and stuff like that. But no, it's a terrible feeling, as you well know. Anytime you're not feeling 100% and having to try to navigate around stuff. And there's certain shows where you can do that more than others, right? Some you just can't. Like, so there's, I mean, you would know as well as I, like, there's just, it's that really hard moment too, then when you have to know when you have to call out.
Yeah, that is a hard.
That was
I made that mistake once. One big one.
You just have to like live and learn, right? Because especially growing up in the Chicago theater community, really growing up in I don't know, I feel like any community outside of the New York commercial theater machine where there's all these understudies built in and swings and stuff like that. Like, I don't know about when you grew up doing theater or whatever, but like where you started, and like sometimes you don't even have understudies. So there was sort of this mentality, and I'm not saying it's a negative thing, but there's just a different mentality in the Chicago theater. Like, you better be friggin', your leg better be sawed off. You better you call out. Like, calling out is not really a thing without notice.
Correct. Correct. I mean, some people, they don't feel that way, but yes.
Well, that's just what, like, I was really, so that one died really hard with me. Like, I still, when I call out, I feel like I'm letting down my grandma and her grandma and everybody wants to do something. It's not about that, but there's conditioning that goes into it, is what I'm saying.
Right. I think people who are like looking at Broadway, like one thing to really like dig your teeth into is that it's 8 times a week. It is not a one and done. It is 6 days, 8 times, sometimes double show days. And you have to show up with your actual body. It's not like the movies where you like film it and then you're out of there. It's like No. And when we were on tour, we might be in the cold. It might be 5 degrees. It might be 100 degrees tomorrow, wherever we're going to be. And to go through from all these different places. And so that's why I bring that up, because it's just, it's one of your magic. It's one of those things that are just like, no matter, and you're usually like leading the show. I'm like, how does she do that? It's really incredible. And I do have a question from one of my interns. Her name is Sophia. She wanted to know, uh, for six, how was it preparing for one of my best friends wanted to know this, Catherine. How was it preparing for Jane Seymour? Here's a two-part question.
Okay.
One being with the London cast having done it, and then okay, it's coming to America. Like, how was that preparation? That's the first part of the question.
Oh, it was really, yeah, it was cool because so it was already like this big hit in London, but kind of people over here didn't really, like, I didn't know what it was until I got the appointment, and I was like, looked it up on YouTube, and I was like,
oh shit,
what's going on? This is so cool. I had like a feeling in my body. I was like, I don't know what this is, but I feel like I want to do it, and I'm kind of scared because I don't know if I can. But that was like my visceral first reaction. But yeah, but even like reading the breakdown, I was like, I don't get it. And like, there was no script. You could listen to the recording, but I was like, oh, I wonder what the books, and there is a book, but so much of it is music.
Right.
So it was really cool that there was, it was so unique, but there was kind of like already like a buzz about it. But when I, first got the job, it was just for a regional production at Chicago
Yes.
Shakespeare. Like,
That's
it's
awesome.
like it was springtime, I think. Yeah, it was springtime in 2019. I was like, oh my God, it's a great theater. I'll get to my hometown. Like, and beyond that, we were like, and it looks really cool. It was a British team. I've always wanted to, like, I don't know why, but I have like this dream to work in the West End. Um, I love people with accents and stuff like that. So I was just like, this is like such a cool, like, the creators are so young. It's so new. I just felt really excited by it. And then, but I was like, okay, this will be a fun job. Never really, I mean, Salish, even if something has like buzz, we've all been like so many readings, like Broadway Bound, people
Don't
say
even
that
get me
this
started.
like,
Whatever. We'll see it when it happens.
Show me the contract, kid, whatever.
Right.
So, yeah, from there, things obviously changed, but at that point, so that was sort of what it was like. And I have to say, that the creative team was so cool about never did we feel like you have to do the West End version. First of all, there was a big like controversy over, apparently, I don't know, about like the accents.
Right? Oh my gosh. I didn't know there was a controversy, but I was like, do they get accents? Do they not? It's like part of the music. Oh, I don't got a good accent. Never mind.
You're brilliant. It was, and I walked in the tradition. I was like, so what type of British accent would you like? And they were like, oh, we don't want one. I was like, what?
But I memorized it in an accent.
I was like, but I really wanted to do an accent.
Wait. Can we break up 1 second? You asked them what type of British accent would they like? I'm like, this is the only one that I have.
Yeah, I'm like a dialect nerd. You know this. So I'm like, do you want like I mean, I just wondered if they had a preference. Like, well, obviously they don't want Cockney, but even all those girls, they all have different. In the UK, they have one of them who's kind of northern. They all have like a different vibe.
See, the second I think that you're from this planet, you say something that is just so like, Abby, you're a superstar. You're like,
I'm a nerd. Is that what made you think it was a fun planet?
No, I'm just like asking what type of accent. If they were like, we want this instead of this, I'd be like, well, you're getting Cockney. So,
well, true. Maybe they want a Cockney, if word works. So I just, anyway, got totally shut down. They're like, oh, no. And I admit I was a little like, oh. And at that point, I was so used to hearing it. I was I was even on like kind of the fence of like, I don't know, you guys, is it gonna work without, because I don't know if you've listened to the original, the studio cast recording, but they're like, sorry, not sorry, that, it's like soup's Brits. But
Right.
as soon as we started doing, I was like, oh, okay. But my point is, the team was so cool, right down to like, even with the music, like there was stuff that the MD, like even with stuff, like we had, it was actually pretty fast putting the whole thing together. All of our brains were kind of exploding, but we had like riff sessions. Like he would take each of us individually and they'd be like, okay, so here's what's on the page. Here's what so-and-so, we want to make sure like we were really allowed to do our own thing within the framework.
Right.
But also, like acting type wise, like with this show, I really think that this is true probably for every show, but they're kind of casting types and personalities for this show. Like they have been interested in like us bringing ourselves to the part. And that, as you know, that doesn't always happen.
Right.
The same.
That's what it seemed like when I saw you in the show. I was like, they built that around her. Like that portion is like, that was very Abby. Like,
well, and maybe that just lined up, but it's funny now because one of the question that the queens get a lot is like, which other queen would you play? And I'm like, listen, I am the first to admit, I was like, there ain't nobody else I could be in this show. Like, I can't.
you are Jane Seymour.
Some people could, but like, I have no, like, what's the word? Like, we have to like, maybe I'm really versatile. And this show, it's like, nope, that's the one slot I could have.
The Adele one. That is just that is just so you.
It worked. I'm thrilled the way, like, I'm thrilled there was like a spot for me, honestly.
Oh, it's so great. You're so great in it. And so, okay, so Jane Seymour is a real person. Carole King, who you also starred as, is a real person. How was it preparing for this? Like it being a real person again? Did you have to?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, so obviously had some historical, I mean, completely different in the fact that Jane Seymour is not going to show up at the show, and like I didn't have to send my like callback tapes to Jane Seymour to approve it.
Right, whereas Carole King might show up any freaking day, which she did sometimes.
You did have to do, yeah, and that whole like knowing like, oh, okay, if I don't get it at this point, it's because Carole King herself was like,
Nope.
So that was a little stressful, but yeah, same, I would say 6 is obviously very different because Carol, not only is she, thank God, still with us, but it was a very, it was a biographical musical. 6 is stylistically so different, right? So it's taking these real people, but obviously putting them in a scenario like the real Jane Seymour was not like in a Tudor pop girl group. So already we have a little more room to play. And unfortunately, there's not, they weren't really interested in what the women in their internal feelings and what was going on in their inner landscapes in those times. There's not a lot of actual historical data. I mean, about like, okay, well, she did this and had this many miscarriages and died here, or he killed her or whatever. But, we don't have like the natural woman memoir for any of these queens, unfortunately, like we do for Carol. So we had to fill in a lot of gaps, but I think that's one of the things that's been super cool, also super kind of /sad is and something that the show, I think, and the writing does so brilliantly is kind of show like what hasn't changed in so many years, that women are still kind of going through parallels and stuff like that, and how they sort of modernize it. And I think it's really clever and really smart and really like, ooh,
How is it Like fast forward to 2020, 2021, being in a cast of all women. Like there's women on the whole stage. And it's a diverse cast of women. What's that like?
It's friggin' awesome. And not something I've never, I guess in like readings. Wait, no, I did a show. I'm like, have I ever been in a cast of all women? Only one other time, I think, with Marvelous Wonderettes. But it's awesome. And I think one of the things that, but also didn't seem that weird. I was like, yeah, this makes sense. And all of us, I mean, we love each other so much. We've like been through so much, so much together. And it's been interesting watching the audiences, kind of the well, all generations, fascinating actually, but particularly like our mom's generations and older. One of the first things they comment on is, I've never seen a show in my life that's all women on stage. And they're like pumped by it. It's almost like they don't know what, I don't want to say they don't know what to do with like the empowerment factor, but I think it's really important on so many levels, not only to see a stage full of women, not only to see a stage full of diverse women. I think almost our I think it could even mean things to different demographics and different generations, and something that we almost think is like take it for granted, but
no, because I was in the audience being like, dang, this is really empowering. And we're of the same generation. Like that's what I was feeling.
Yeah, no, everybody finds it empowering, but as far as like it's not like you and I are like, I can't believe there's 6 women. Well, we kind of are, which is messed up.
Right?
But hopefully the point is that these little babies coming to see it are like, yeah, this is normal.
Right.
Normal. Yeah, there's somebody up there that looks like me, and everyone in my class and everyone in my neighborhood or my city, like especially for these little girls and boys, and not just little girls, but especially for these people of color, to see people represented
absolutely
up there as queens and pop stars,
yes.
Oh,
it's so fun.
So necessary. Yeah,
it's so fun. I have a couple more questions for you. I'm just so excited for everything to come back, and I'm so excited for you, Abby. I just like, my heart is so big for you. Like there's really no like really describing how big my heart is for you and how much I look up to you. I am just curious, and you can answer this in any kind of way you want. I'm just curious for myself because I'm like, what are my actor friends doing during this whole time? I just started dating somebody who like literally he works so much. He works like almost 12-hour days sometimes. And sitting next to him, I'm like, I'm not doing anything with my life. Like that's what it feels like. But really I am. But sitting next to somebody who's actively like, I'm like, have you felt like that? How have you filled your time and your days, like when you're not able to be on stage? Like,
well, first of all, I think that you have to let yourself off the hook here, because our day period looks nothing like, I don't know if this, congratulations by the way. And second of all, like I don't know what he does for it, but I'm guessing it's more of like a 9 to 5 sort of office.
7 to 7.
Okay. So like our schedule just never looked like that, period. You know what I mean? And I felt like that my whole life. I've been like, dang. People will be like, so what do you
do all day?
And I'm like, I'm doing stuff all day, but it doesn't look like,
it doesn't look the same.
It doesn't look like normal people, right? It just doesn't look the same. And that's okay. And I feel like it was something we should be embracing now more than ever. Like there is no one size fits all anything. Like some people love working 12 hours a day. Some people that's like not good for them. Some people, so just as far as, and then look, you take away people's jobs, livelihood. Like I don't care if you were if you were an actor or you were a, waiter, a lot of crossover there, but like
there's a lot of crossover there.
Somebody, other look, so many industries, right, that were completely, it's been
Obliterated.
devastating to many industries. Theater, I think, is one of the last to return, so maybe longest hit, but I think it is normal, albeit extremely uncomfortable, to have kind of your life schedule, let me put it that way, your normal routine completely taken away. And then to not have a moment of like, where's my worth? Where's my value? Like, what do I, am I, what do it do? Is what I do even worth anything? Like, who am I if I don't have my job?
Right.
We already run that risk. I mean, I think all people in most, even in Western culture anyway, tend to identify. I mean, it's what the first question people ask you when they meet you, right? Oh, hi, what do you do?
What do you do? How do you identify?
Yeah. And if you're in the arts, so much, I guess, what you love is supposedly the same as your job, but like it's our job. And yeah, just because we weren't like filling out spreadsheets all day or like logging, doing data entry, it's a different sort of like notating time and work and hours paid. It's just different. So
Just different. You're
if you
right.
ask how I found, it's been really frigging weird and disorienting. And I think if no one's had a moment of like, what am I doing with my life? I don't know anyone that hasn't had a moment like that this past year. Well, probably people that have had to keep working.
Right. Oh,
Heads like they don't even have time. But I think that, I guess I'm just saying, like, I think that's a normal feeling
okay.
to have. And don't you?
Well, yeah, but like yes,
Don't
yes,
you feel that way?
I do. And you skipped out for a little bit, so I'm like, I hope I heard what you were saying, but yeah,
Oh,
I do
sorry.
feel that way. Like our days do look different, and to give ourselves a little grace. And even when we are in performance, it's like people asking, like, "What do you do all day?" But really, my job is to stay healthy and to experience, like, I love going out into the city and just soaking in the energy of the city, especially when New York is feeling happy, because whatever the city is feeling is so palpable. So
Yeah.
and just enjoying life, and then going, I don't know, there's just like a lot of enjoyment in there, but there's a better way to say it than what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I don't have like a soundbite. If you find one, please tell me, because
right.
it's been so like borderline humiliating when people are like, what do you do all day? And I'm like, or the people that are like, this is
Borderline
so
humility.
but you can kind of be like, so you work 2.5 hours a day? And I'm like, well,
3. I still have to get
at least, I mean, the commute. No, but I don't know how to articulate it and to quantify it in the same way. Quantify it or qualify it? I don't know.
I know what
Like,
you mean.
not like I work for 8 hours. Like, as you know, what we do from the minute we wake up, it's about being able to do
That
what we do with, and for the people come and pay a lot of money for tickets, just, and if we can't, so it's not, it's just a completely different.
Yeah. And also like taking care of our emotional well-being. You mentioned something earlier where you were like, yeah, if I'm in a dark land, like dark place, I don't want to sing. But guess what? When we've got an 8-show week, no matter what land we're in, we got to show up and sing. So it's like really taking care of our heart and our minds and our emotional well-being. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Oh
There's
yeah.
there's a lot of like self-care that goes in there. Like
I think it's probably way more the percentage. And I think, again, something that hopefully we've learned this past year. I know it's been like prevalent in the industry of like, oh, and every industry, right? Like, even like, oh, do I need to go into my office 5 times a week, or can I just go? I think that's happening in every industry. Like, how much do we actually like in a reassessment of what the work week looks like, and hopefully more emphasis on well-being. And that, I mean, it's still a capitalistic society, so it's not like everyone's that concerned with our well-being, but like I think if it's on it, no, it obviously should be, because
right.
the thing, the more healthy, and I mean that in all facets, um, the healthier your employees are, the more productive they're going to be, and the more money they're going to make you,
Right.
and the better quality work they're going to have. But for actors, I do think that that's shifting this, like, the show will go on mentality, which people, that's been polarizing, like, no, it means this, but not like, hopefully moving more to a realm of like, not at the expense of your personal, mental, physical, emotional health. Are we putting that before? Because what we do, we can't cut it off here, be like, oh, I'm just not going to use my heart today, or use my, like, what we do and what we absorb from doing the show. Like, oh, this was beautiful. Like, my body, I can't tell my body I'm not getting divorced 8 times a week. That's
wow.
Like, people be like, God, I'd be like, why is this so hard, man? And certain people are more sensitive to things, like whatever. But even doing, I'm trying to think of another show. Every show has its physical toll, and it's like psycho-spiritual, emotional toll, it's mental toll. By toll, I mean that's what you're offsetting every day then with your work day.
Right. Like, literally whatever's happening in your show is happening to you emotionally.
It's happening in your life. And and I don't think we always get a lot of guidance on how to navigate that. So we're kind of left to do it ourselves. And man, there's a lot of room for stuff to really take I mean, you have to be doing a lot of maintenance.
A lot of maintenance. And oh my goodness, I just finished reading The Law of Attraction. So what you're saying is really scary, because like what we do for a living is like we are absorbing, we have all these emotions that we're having to put on stage. But like, have you heard about or read about the law of attraction? It's like, how do we offset what we are experiencing on stage because it's play, and not letting that a part of our real life? I'm not going to say any names, but there's like an actress who like played a crazy person on stage and then actually went crazy in her real life. Like, when you are really taking on the character, it's like, how do you not let that seep into, how do we not let that seep into our own lives?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think a really necessary question, and it's going to be the answer is different for everybody. So I just feel like I sincerely feel that like figuring out, like working on your own stuff, knowing yourself, your system, your body, your personality, your the most about yourself, so that you can use that information for your benefit. And that's how you learn to be like, okay, well, I know I can't go out here, and I'm not just saying like loud or talking, like everybody has different energetic needs. And I think what you're talking about are these energetic boundaries that are really I don't want to say difficult to maintain, but if you're not even aware that that's happening, you're going to be more susceptible to all the things that people use to self-medicate, to not feel and absorb the negative stuff that's coming in. I mean, gosh, look at how many,
Yes.
I don't know. I've struggled with that my entire life, being like, what's mine and what's not mine.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, leave it at work.
Yeah, but that takes strategy, because it's not just like, blink your, for some people, maybe, oh man, I would love to get to that point. I mean, I hope I do, but again, there talk about universal laws, right?
Right. Oh, you know what's up.
It goes somewhere. So learning how to, and that's why I love energy medicine and all forms like that, because it's about discharging these charges, like literally from your body, stuff you can't think your way out of, when you're dealing with like electricity and ions and stuff. You're like, it is what it is.
Right.
I've
got a couple extra questions before I let you go, and they're like fire questions. Okay. Do you have any dream roles?
You know what, Salish? I said I wanted to originate a role on Broadway. This role is literally a dream role.
Come on, Abby!
Hey.
Woo, woo, woo. Oh, I'm so excited about that. But next question, who do you look up to? Who do you look up to?
Oh my gosh, so many people. Do you mean like in life or like in the industry or?
Oh, bada boop and a bada boop.
You know who? I mean, Audrey McDonald is the first person that always pops into my head. And I've said before, and similarly, like Bernadette Peters, as far as like women in the industry that are like nailing it. They're like, I don't do one thing, I do everything. And they're like they seem to me to be such like heart centered performers. I don't know if that's even the right, we're just like artists, and they do cool stuff, and they seem to like, they speak out about the causes that are important to them, and they're just so I really look up to them a lot. Yeah.
I love that. And I love them too. I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm
Right?
like watching Bernadette in Hello Dolly. I was like, oh, I get it now.
Isn't that great? I went to see it with both ladies. Well, there were more than two, sorry, but I saw that, and then I was like, I have to see my girl. Bernadette.
And what are you grateful for today?
What am I grateful for today?
Yeah.
Whoa. So many things. Well, I'm really grateful to talk to you, and thank you for having me.
I love you.
I love you too. I love you. I am grateful that we this might sound cheesy, but like we've had this time, we're at where we're at now. I'm grateful for this time that has passed. It has been challenging, but I think, again, it's also important. I know there's some people that are like, F this year, F that year, and I get it. I think horrible things have happened. But I don't feel like I can say that totally, because there's been value in the perspectives that have been forced upon, me maybe, but like, and then just to still have, man, something I really am struggling with a lot, to be totally honest with you, but I have to remember it is a practice of gratitude, is for my body, and to be like, listen, I know we don't always get along, and there's things that we've been fighting about for a long time now, but like, you have carried me through this. You are alive. Like, there are hundreds of thousands of people that are not. And so, especially getting back into work and getting back into all the headspace of all that goes with that, and as women in the friggin', show business industry, that this way too, just so much pressure, I think, on our bodies and what our bodies look like, and to try to remember that, like, the most important part is that it works, and trusting that even when it feels like there's a lot to bounce back from this year in so many different facets, like,
right.
I'm trying, and I'm speaking to myself as I'm saying this, and it's like, I doubt now's the time she's going to give up on me. You know what I mean? Like, if we're a little rusty, we'll work it out, and we'll get it back. But
yeah,
there's so much more that is going right with my body than the stuff that I made,
I love that. And I love the way you're saying that, because it's something that I need to hear. It's something that a lot of us performers need to hear, and to just internalize, to give ourselves a little grace.
Yeah.
A lot of grace.
That's hard though. I just got started like sweating a little bit there. Well, I shared all that, but that's the truth. So I really am grateful for that, even if there's still stuff to work on, as there always is. But what a what a unique time in human history to be living through, right? Like,
I know.
When you write your book, have you written your book already?
I did. It needs to
You've
go.
already written.
Yeah. Abby, off the record, I'll talk to you.
Yeah. Okay, so in your next book,
Yes.
in your follow-up New York Times bestseller, you're going to be like, and then I lived through this global pandemic. Like, so interesting, right?
Yes.
That we
Yeah.
chose this time.
To come to Earth.
Come on down.
Seriously, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for joining me, for being like present with me for a little while. And I'm so happy to see your face, number one.
Likewise.
And I can't wait to see your face in person again. Every time I've been walking to a train back in the day when, Broadway was up and I see you at the stage door, it brings me so much joy to be like, Abs, and you to be like, Salisha. I'm like, that's my girl. I love you so, so much. And also thank you for sharing like your gratitude list, because that's a real thing.
And that reminds me, like, hey,
Hey,
remember that? I just made it. I was like, oh, I'm making this to sound good, but I'm like, oh, you need to write that down.
and honestly, let me write that down. Abby Mueller, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, I can't wait to see you back on Broadway and to just continue nailing it. So
Thanks, Salisha. Love you.
love you, girl.